Our next round of 32 matchup comes in the South region. One seed Auburn here taking on ninth seeded Creighton. Um, Creighton really put the hammer down on Louisville. They were awesome pretty much the whole game. Jemiah Neal was playing like Michael Jordan, as you like to joke around and say he does this like once every 3 or 5 games.
Once every 3 games, he's Michael Jordan. The rest of the time, he's Arizona State, Jemiah Neal.
Yeah, so I mean, he was awesome. Like at halftime, people were talking about him flirting with a triple double. Um, I thought I expected Chucky Hepburn to be able to hound like Stephen Ashworth, take them a bit more out of their stuff, but Creighton was pretty comfortable. It seemed like most of the game, and Louisville just wasn't very good. And then Auburn, like they struggled a little bit in the first half. They were kind of seemed like they were sleepwalking through the first half a bit. Ended up winning that game by 20. Now, moving on to the round of 32, this line sitting at Auburn minus 8.5. I don't know. My gut says like Auburn just kind of coasts to a victory here. I'm not a big Creighton believer, but I guess if Creighton's going to shoot the three as well as they did, and if the guards of Auburn can't disrupt Stephen Ashworth to keep him out of their stuff, and if Kalkbrenner is able to just sit at the rim all game and Auburn's not able to make shots, then I guess anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think this sets up pretty well for Auburn, especially on the defensive end. I think it's going to come down to Kalkbrenner's going to have to be really good in this game, especially in the post, because Auburn denies catch and shoot at like one of the best rates in the entire country. They have length all over the floor. Like it's going to be really tough for Creighton to get into any of those actions, and they're going to have to rely on the two-man game of Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, which they do quite a bit anyway. I just think it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to get into it, and they're not going to be able to they're never going to make two guys guard the ball at any time. Like Auburn's completely fine with defending in isolation, and just they'll defend post ups one on one as well. So that's kind of the reason why I think Kalkbrenner's going to have to get the ball a ton and be really efficient in the post for them to have any success on offense, because I think they're going to cut off everybody else, like guys like McAndrew. Like I don't know how much success Jemiah Neal is going to have in this game unless they use him a lot in the pick and roll game, but all those other guys like Trout, Zugic, like I would be surprised if those guys combined. Yeah, I'd be surprised if those guys combined for 15 points, because Auburn just cuts those guys off, and they just really force your stars to be extremely efficient while Auburn has really good one-on-one defenders. So I think it's going to be tough. The athleticism advantages all the way with Auburn, and I don't know how many advantages they really have on the offensive end. I think they're going to have to play Broom at the 5 a lot in this game. So they're going to have to find a way to pull Kalkbrenner from the rim. And at that point, I think the driving lanes get wide open. Broom's going to have to knock down a 3 or 2 to really pull Kalkbrenner from the rim. And I think Broom can do that. I mean, as long as he's not taking free throws, he's fine. I mean, he goes on stretches where he just can't make a free throw. He's not even close sometimes. But I think it's not really a great Cardwell game here, because yeah, like I said, you need to find ways to pull Kalk from the rim, and I do think Auburn has a lineup that they can do that with. So, yeah, I think they set up fairly well on both ends of the floor, and overall, I think the athleticism advantage is with Auburn. They haven't been playing well lately. Like I think a lot of people got nervous in that first half against Alabama State, but overall, I don't really think that upset was really ever all that likely to happen, even what happened in the first half. But yeah, so I like Auburn here. I don't really think they're in too much danger here unless Kalkbrenner absolutely dominates this game, which I have a hard time seeing him like being far and away the best player on the floor.
Yeah, I would have been a bit more worried about this matchup, I think, if it had been Louisville. I'm not as worried with Creighton. Athleticism-wise, I think it's a big mismatch. Right. The other thing with Auburn, right, they take care of the ball well. Creighton doesn't force turnovers. They're actually in the bottom 5 in the country in turnover rate defense. So I expect Auburn to be very comfortable, be able to like pretty much get the ball wherever they want, enter to the post, and play out of that. I just think they're going to be super comfortable. And then to your point about Auburn's defense, right? I mean, Auburn, very good 2-point field goal defense, 3-point field goal defense. They're top 5 in the country. Creighton has a high 3-point rate. They're 11th in the country in offensive 3-point rate. But Auburn does a great job of not really even allowing threes. And I think their athleticism is going to just like push Creighton out of their comfort zone. I don't expect Jemiah Neal to have that much success. Like my guess would be what Chad Baker-Mazara guards him, and I think his length, his athleticism is really going to bother him unless he decides he wants to get a tech and blow up and get ejected in the first 2 minutes. But I don't
probably will.
He might, but I'm not expecting that. I actually want to make a bold prediction for this game, actually, too. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner fouls out for the first time in his career.
In the last game that he plays?
I think
that would be a heartbreaker, honestly. I think that's one of the best records in the sport right now, him just not fouling out. I mean, actually, like the foul disparity, I think could actually be advantage Auburn. Like Creighton doesn't draw fouls at all. And the only way they're going to draw fouls is through the Kalkbrenner post-up game. And that's the one area that Auburn's defense is really vulnerable. That and the glass. Creighton doesn't get on the glass, and they don't draw fouls. They're a heavy jump shooting team. So I think Auburn can take away a lot of, or like they can't really get exposed by Creighton. Like a lot of the SEC teams were able to expose them a little bit. So I don't think I can get behind the Kalkbrenner fouling out thing. I think he's way too good defensively. I think he's way too good verticality wise. He might get away with a little bit just because of the reputation, but I think he plays with elite verticality, and that's McDermott who taught him all of that. And McDermott doesn't want his bigs fouling at all because he wants them on the floor as long as possible, and he can always play that drop coverage. So maybe he picks up 4, but I'm never going to say he's going to foul out until I see it.
He picked up 4 in that Big East semifinal or quarterfinal against DePaul, and
he's pretty. That was what, triple overtime.
But no, he had 4 in like regulation. He was pretty fortunate. Oh, wow. He was pretty fortunate to they.
At that point, he was just trying to keep the record.
Yeah,
just opting to not play defense.
Yeah. So, anyway, wrap things up. Right, Creighton. I think this was really about their ceiling for this season. They especially after Pop Isaacs got hurt early in the year, like it feels like their ceiling was like maybe win a tournament game. And they did that. But I think that the road ends here. Auburn moves on to the Sweet 16 to take on the winner of Michigan and Texas A&M.